Is the white man the devil?
Yes.
Is it okay to hate?
Yes.
Welcome to the Father State. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Don't forget the Father State is on Patreon. Click the Patreon link in the description to support our work. And I appreciate it. I have with me a very interesting guest, TAZARYACH. He is the captain of the ISUPK, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge in New York. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. First, how would you define the Israelites? What is it, a religion, organization, or just a black club?
No, the Israelites, everybody has that Bible in their house, especially black people. And so we're raised that, we're all Gentiles saved under the grace of Jesus Christ dying.
Right.
That's what allows us to come in. And we find out through history is that we are really the descendants of Israel. Like if you look at black people today, right, they have no identity. If you was to take 10 black men and ask them all who they were, they would say Christian, Methodist, atheist, Baptist, 5%er, Egyptologist, all these things that they're not, because we're the ones that our identity was taken from. And that's what was going to be brought upon the children of Israel. They would be called that byword and that proverb. So we're the only ones that don't have that identity. So in 1969, and before I talk about ISUPK, just to give the Israelite history as a whole, before 1969, you had black people that once we got our hands on that Bible would read them records. Like if you go to your Nat Turners, your Denmark Vessies, your F.S. Cherries, your Rabbi Ford.
But let me ask you before you get to all that, do you consider yourself a religious group?
No.
Or do you just consider yourself the original Jews?
I wouldn't say original Jews because Jews is just one tribe. There are 11 other tribes.
So the Israelite tribe is a part of the original Jews?
No, just to say it properly, the Israelites are the 12 tribes: Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Gad, Manasseh, Ephraim. It's 12 tribes of Israel. So you may see the term Jew, but that only encompasses one tribe, right, or one kingdom. But there's two kingdoms: Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom. So to put it in proper context, the Israelites of today are the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in North, Central, and South America, as well as those that are in Africa, Europe, and Asia, the other continents across.
Why did you guys, out of all the religions to choose, why did you choose to be a Jew rather than a Christian or Muslim or something else? Why did you pick Jew?
Well, Christ, the greatest alpha male to ever exist. When you think of an alpha male, Christ is the one you think of.
Right.
And one of the things he said in John 8:32, it said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." So every black person goes into what makes them feel good. So it's good to say I'm a Christian or God-like, so to speak, but it doesn't require you to follow any moral codes of ethics. Us being Israelites is not something that we chose to be. It's who we were born as. Our identity was just taken away from us when we came over here in slavery. So in slavery, we came over here, then we had a slave Bible. Then we had what you would say the white man's version of the Bible. Then you had some freedmen like W.E. Du Bois gave an excellent write-up where he wrote about the freedman.
But he was a communist. You shouldn't like him. He was a communist. He hated his country. He moved to Africa, denounced his citizenship, and he died over there. He was a loser.
But what country did he hate?
America.
What's wrong with that?
If you're the Jews, you can't hate because you represent God, and God is not of hate.
Well, if God is not of hate, we celebrate a Passover every year, which is about the death of Egyptian babies. Is that love or hate?
I want to get to this. So you're a sector of the original Jews, a tribe of the original Jews.
Right, but original Jews is an improper context you keep using. And I know you black and slow. That's why I keep correcting you when you come back and say original Jews.
Right.
Because just one tribe.
Yeah, I am black and slow. That's why I'm trying to break it down. So if I can understand it, anybody would be able to understand it.
Absolutely.
Did the Israelites did you come here as a result of the wealthy black selling the poor blacks to the Arabs And
No,
did they bring you here from Israel or did they bring you here from Africa?
no, we actually came from the west coast of Africa, and the common misnomer is that black people sold black people.
No, it's not. That's true.
That is. Well, no, actually, it's not true.
No, I know for a fact it's true.
Well, let me educate you. Since you say you black is slow, let me be the one to educate you. Your skin tone doesn't make you who you are. You have Arabs that have brown skin.
Right.
You have East Indians that have brown skin. So just because an African and a black person has brown skin does not make them the same. So when we was in the west coast of Africa, how we even got there in 70 AD, we fled into Africa. So we lived amongst Africans, but we were not Africans. That's why you could find maps that would say land of Judah in the middle of Africa. So when the so-called white man came to find slaves, it wasn't Africans selling Africans. It was Africans selling Israelite people and bringing us over here into captivity. Harriet Tubman, as an example, she was an Israelite. Her family were raised as Israelites. She had an Israelite name. So what I was telling you in the beginning, the information of being an Israelite was very small when we first came into America. And then in the early 1900s, black people started waking up to who they were. The organization that I'm in was established in 1969, where we was to begin to get the full knowledge of real black history. When I say real black history, they call it the Dark Ages in Europe, but the Dark Ages was a time when black people ruled Europe. So when you go into the real history, you'll see King James was black. He was not a white guy. You'll see his whole lineage of kings were black people. They were not white people. An excellent book to get is The Russian Icons, where they'll show you the real images of all of the ancient kings in Europe. And then you'll see that they weren't white guys. They were called black people. Excuse me, they were black people, what you would call them today. And then they had the Renaissance era, where they took the greatest alpha male to exist, Jesus Christ, and turned him into a beta, which was Caesar Borgia, who was a homosexual himself, who was in love with his sister Lucretia, who they made the image of Lucretia to be Mary. And that became the Renaissance era. So all of that history that was taken away from black people in the Israelite School of UPK, we give that history back. Now I can continue what I was saying. The purpose of ISUPK is to give black people their true identity. You can't get anywhere being something that you're not. If you become a Christian, you're going to subject yourself to the Christians of today, which is the so-called white man, and then they become your rulers. So if we look up to a white God, so to speak, and then we look at the oppression that the so-called white man has given us, we'll recognize that that's oppressive, what they're doing, but we won't separate from them as we should because we believe that's our God. So now we realize Christ was a black man like you and I, and that the God of Christ and the God of us wants us to follow those law, statutes, commandments to repent from the evil that we're doing, then we can overcome it. Because the white man—
Finish your point.
Yeah.
Because the white man what?
Because the white man did put us in slavery, but God is more powerful than slavery. So we don't need the white man to get us out of slavery. We just need him to leave us alone so we can come back to our identity, follow the Most High, and then we won't have to worry about the bondage that we're in.
Amazing.
That's what ISUPK teaches.
Okay. And so over in Africa, before the Arabs brought you people over here, you were enslaved by other blacks.
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't necessarily say that we were enslaved.
But you were.
No, you won't. You'll find points. Well, if you're talking about from a biblical perspective, there are different times in the Bible where we were enslaved.
By other blacks, right?
No.
Yeah. Well, no, there were no white people over in Mommy Africa in that area where they enslaved you guys.
I got you. But there were Egyptians, there were Ethiopians, there were Assyrians. Those are not, again, as you say, you black and slow, you keep using black as a blanket term. But Africans, for example, they don't call themselves black. They don't call themselves African American because they make a distinction. Black people in America do not make a distinction between blacks and blacks in Africa. They'll make, and here's how you know they suffer from lack of knowledge, as the Bible say, Hosea 4:6, because they will make a distinction between black Arabs or black East Indians. But when it comes to Africans, they make it seem like we're all black. We're not the same people. Your skin, there's a book called The Black Image in the Minds of Whites. And in that book, the white man studied our brain and studied our archaeology and said that we were not the Africans that they portray us to be. It's just that those books, the greatest thing to hide from a black person is knowledge in a book.
The best place to hide money from black people is in a book.
No, I wouldn't say the money, but
they ain't gonna open the book, so the money is safe.
Well, money is not what plagues black people, because black people have money. You know how I know black people have money?
How?
Dealers make millions of dollars off of drug addicts.
Who does that?
Drug dealers.
Oh, drug dealers. Let me ask, where is your God?
He's on his throne.
And where's the throne?
In heaven.
And where is the heaven?
Well, so in our slang, we may say the fourth dimension, but that's a place where the Most High is on his throne and Christ is on the right hand of his throne.
If black people were truly the real Israelites, and that would have meant that they would have had the mindset of God, right?
If you believe in magic.
What happened to them that they didn't see the Arabs coming to enslave them and bring them to America and other parts of the world? Why were they not smart enough to recognize that?
The same reason.
And this happened before they got to America. Why were they not smart enough to recognize if they were truly the original Israelites?
I'm going to tell you why. The same reason that they couldn't see that with the Arabs and the Africans to sell them is the same reason that they believe Joe Biden would be a better president than Donald Trump.
And what's that reason?
Because we're slow.
Blacks are slow?
Let me explain. Because you said we're black and slow again from the
biblical
biblical
I didn't say all y'all. I'm saying I'm black and slow. Y'all might be smart.
Well, you notice I always say we, right? Because I never like to take it off of me. It makes it more personal to say we're black and slow. I don't want us to be black and slow. So I don't want you to be black and slow no more. I want you to be smart.
Too late.
So from the biblical narrative, even when we came out of Egypt, and we've gotten to the land of Israel, what did we do at that time? We started joining the other nations, disobeying the Most High. That's why when you asked your question about shouldn't we know, I said, yes, if you believe in magic. The Bible is not magic. When we're giving them law, statute, commandments, it's up to us to keep those commandments. But what do we always do? We're envious of the nations around us. So during the time of Africa, before we came over here in slavery, we began to be just like the Africans, just like the Arabs, and we left our true power. In the Israelite School UPK, we teach our people to come back to God, to come back to their true power, to leave an African God alone, to leave a white God alone. So now when an enemy comes, and I use the presidential election as an example, everybody looked at Trump like he was the greatest racist to ever exist. Like there was not a racist white guy before Trump came along. And then Biden come along, he's the great white hype. And nobody looks at the video where Biden says he loves black children because he's used to black roaches, like playing with roaches. And so he explains black children as roaches. But because he sounds slicker or better than Trump, because Trump doesn't sound as racist as Biden, they look at Biden as the way to be the answer. In Israelite School UPK, you'll recognize that both of them are devils. Both of them are deceivers.
Amazing.
There is no power that can be over us except the Most High. Christ is our king. So why would we vote for anybody to be president over us when God gave us Christ as king?
Why did the black men allow themselves over the last 70 years, because it wasn't that way, where it was that way in Africa, where the black women rule over the black men, and that's why Africa, one of the reasons Africa fell apart, became weak. In the United States of America, why are the black men allowing the black women to rule over them?
That's happening today. There's a lot of things. I did a lecture called, 2 lectures I did. One was called The Miseducation of the Black Woman, and one was The Cure for the Hatred Between the Black Man and the Black Woman. What the white man did in his grave, if you go before, I remember an interview I saw, and you talked about during Jim Crow, black people were better. That's correct, right, what you said?
They were moral, they are married. They didn't see white people as superior. They didn't feel that they were less or more than white people or anyone else. They did for themselves. They respected others. They loved their neighbors. They worked hard. They bought land. They did their thing. And the black woman was not over the black man. The order of God and Christ, Christ and man, man over woman and woman over children was in operation then. But when the civil rights movement started, which was a big mistake, that's when the black man turned his life over to the black woman.
I wouldn't say now. I actually agree with. I like what you said with the Jim Crow and before then. And it's not so much that we went to the white man. We recognized the white man was the enemy, but we also recognized that black people had their power when they were together. But I mean, when I say together, the black household was together. It was in order, under that same order that you said: God, Christ, man, woman, and child.
Right.
Under that, when you go before the civil rights, we were the number one household in America, about to turn the tide over from even the white man of being married. And then, like you said, civil rights came, and civil rights was the detriment. And why was that? Because uppity rich black people became the sellouts, that you would say. And instead of fighting, so during that time of Jim Crow, you had HBCUs. I'm saying HBCUs on purpose because you don't find historical black colleges no more, because we wanted to be integrated. Brown versus Board of Education. We don't have black schools no more because we wanted to be integrated. We don't have our families together no more, because when the white man saw the threat of the black household, he did two things that black people gobbled up. The first thing he did was, for black men, was he gave cheap drugs to sell. You didn't have that drug dealing that you had back in the days before the civil rights movement. And then you had that. Then you had with the black woman, he gave that black woman what the serpent gave.
But the white man didn't do it. The black civil rights leader, Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, and all those so-called leaders of black people did that. You can't blame the white man for that. They were not leading the black people. The so-called civil rights leaders were doing it.
Well, you have to give fault. One thing what we do in the ISUPK is tell the truth.
But it was the black people did it. Why are you blaming the white folks?
If you listen to what I said, I never took nothing away from them them uppity black folks. That's the first thing I said. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the white man came and manipulated that situation.
No, what happened was they went to Lyndon B. Johnson at the time, and they said to Lyndon B. Johnson, we need to have the blacks in the Democratic Party. And what we'll do is, if you give us the blacks, the civil rights leaders made an agreement. We'll sell you the blacks into the Democratic Party, and you get in welfare, but we want to be their leaders. And so the so-called black civil rights leader made a deal with the white Democratic Party that they would sell the blacks, but they didn't want blacks to think for themselves and do for themselves.
That's the manipulation. And not only that, you got to go before that. Because when you go back to Jim Crow, we established our own cities. How did them cities get destroyed? They didn't get destroyed by black people. You know, there's never been an air attack in America until Black Wall Street happened, when they flew aircrafts over the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, to drop grenades out of jealousy over a lie. So because they said some black person whistled at a white woman, they burned a whole entire town down. You got that city. You got the city in Detroit. You got the city Seneca Village where Central Park is at in New York. Black
well, that's
city.
not why the Wall Street thing happened. The reason that happened was there were a couple of black businessmen and white businessmen who disagreed on some type of a deal. And then they start arguing, fighting with one another. And just like any terrorist attack upon America, it started and went into a riot. They didn't do it just because the blacks were black or that they have businesses.
So you're calling a black man a terrorist because he wants to keep his business?
I'm just saying the warfare between the white and the black broke out because they had disagreements.
But if you say America is so great and the white man is so great, why would we be labeled as terrorists? We should be American. We should be American.
Hey, come back. What I'm saying is that wasn't a terrorist attack about America at the time. They didn't go out and get some. Are black people always late?
No.
Is the black woman God?
No.
Is the white man the devil?
Yes.
Is it okay to hate?
Yes.
Is the ISUPK uniting the races or dividing them?
We're uniting the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
Is it a sin to sleep with a white woman?
Yes.
Have you ever slept with a white woman?
No.
Is homosexuality good or evil?
Evil.
True or false? Is Jesus black?
True.
True or false? Jesus will return to earth and enslave the white people.
True.
Is it normal to have anger?
No. Yes, it's normal.
Did you have fun?